liking Kamala? Or I know you don't like Trump, obviously, but
Yeah, I can't stand him. Well, so I have the reasons that I don't like Kamala would be I think she'd probably complete. So I can't vote for Biden because of the money going to Israel. I just absolutely cannot vote for him. And so it's like, oh, but if you do that, then you're just going to let Trump win or something like that. It's like, I can't, like, one guy shot a puppy, another guy shot a baby. I'm not gonna vote for either of them. Okay. I'm just not. I have no faith that she's going to do anything different about that. Now, there have been really good things about Biden, mostly in the realm of labor support and stuff with like the FTC, like what Lena Khan has been doing. From everything I've heard, Kamala would probably get a completely new cabinet in there. And I just I don't know why Biden was so based about those things. Because in his whole career, he never really stood up to for economic populism, as far as I could ever tell.
yeah.
I don't trust that she would have those same types of goals because she's just a dyed in the wool, typical generic kind of Democrat. Almost all of them are. Okay, I'm not saying she's uniquely bad. She's just as bad as Nancy Pelosi, as Chuck Schumer, and most of the other frauds that are in there, right? The other thing is the just the insane hypocrisy from the Democrats that have been shouting, we have to save democracy for years. And then they canceled the primaries. So there was absolutely no opportunity for the Republicans had a primary. What's his name? Meatball Ron went up primary. And in states like Florida and many others, they just canceled the primary and said, we're riding with Biden.
Yes.
And now they've exalted Kamala Harris, who dropped out the last time there actually was a primary because she knew she could get no support. So, in other words, Democrats don't want Kamala Harris. We have Kamala Harris, and for the most part, they're happy to go along with it because she isn't Donald Trump. If Democrats were given a choice for who to put into that process, like if we had a primary, then we would have had, I don't know who would have run, but it would have been real. Well, if I don't know, it would have been really weird. But perhaps Gavin Newsom or a Gretchen Whitmer or Andy Bashir would have risen up.
Yeah, okay, okay. I get what you're saying. I mean, you're made of a few different points. So I is like choosing Kamala. Like the RNC there hasn't even been an RNC convention yet. So
Yes, there has. RNC was last
I mean
week,
the DNC. Sorry, the DNC. Sorry,
right?
they haven't had their convention yet. At that point, they're going to choose who they want to be as the president.
That's
Right.
not a primary,
The
though.
one thing that's okay, but this is happening after the primary. The primary,
Yeah,
right?
I know. There
There's
should
still an
have been a
opportunity.
primary, and there just wasn't. Some states had it, but they would not put people on the ticket. They refused to do any kinds of debates. I mean, they rigged the process. They've rigged the last three in a row. They rigged it for Hillary. She was anointed as the next one, even though Democrats wanted Bernie Sanders. Obama and a bunch of other people consolidated the powers and made Pete Buttigieg and a bunch of other people drop out to funnel votes toward and had them all endorse Biden so he would beat Bernie the next time. And then this time they just didn't do primaries.
But again, the delegates are still going to vote. The DNC.
That's
There's
not
gonna be a
that's
DNC
not
position.
represent.
If they don't want, yes, it is. What are you
No,
talking
it is.
about? Look,
Okay,
if
well,
the
I didn't
people
even
don't
finish
want,
my sentence. That is not
okay, but you
what it.
haven't let me talk either. To be fair, like I can't even say a word. Go ahead.
Well, because you're because what you're gonna
Like I can't even say a word. Go ahead.
well because you're because what you're gonna Nate is not what representative democracy is. It's the end. It's the final step in the process, like when the votes are certified or whatever. But the process is you have a primary and then people choose who they want. Nobody chose Kamala Harris except for Joe Biden.
Nobody. I'm pretty sure a lot of people chose. They had an internal a vote, and yes, the delegates chose her. Who chose the delegates? The people. right? I think you see the thing.
I've no.
By the way, I'm voting for
What are you
Democrat,
talking
right?
about?
Sure. Let me summarize. So I'm voting for Democrat, right? I'm not disenfranchised, but by what's happened with Kamala. Actually, I'm energized, right? I was concerned about what happened with Trump, just because that's going to gain him momentum and steam. But now we really have a platform we can really sink our teeth into with Kamala, right? And at the end of the day,
What is it? What is her message? She has
women's
no
rights.
campaign.
No, not yet. She just started. Yeah, she does have a campaign. Women's rights, right? Bodily autonomy.
Any Democrat believes in that.
Well, that's why the Democrats are more succinct than the Republicans, right? The Republicans just hinge on their Lord and Savior Donald Trump. That's all they have. That's all they can do, right? We as a Democrat.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
Right, and as at least we're willing to lift and shift fire. I mean, do you agree that we at least agree that Biden should have stepped down, and that now? I mean, I guess the only thing we have a difference in is like who you want to be the next president. And if Newsom has the support, he'll be on the ballot. But I mean, at the end of the day, we have to rally behind who we support, and it's Kamala. And I think she's re-energizing the base. But anyway, we don't have to go down this political route.
This will be the yes. I get it. I would rather Kamala Harris be president than Donald Trump too. What I'm saying is this is the third presidential election in a row where the Democratic Party is giving us the candidate we didn't want every single time. That's not the same thing as saying I'd rather Trump be president than Kamala Harris, because that's absolutely silly. But
yeah. But aren't you just saying that like if that's the Democratic way and it's not really democratic at all, then why would you even support them? So I mean, are you supporting?
I wouldn't. I'm not. I don't think I probably will, because the Democratic Party, I am so sick of their incompetence, corruption, and ineptitude. They keep producing candidate. Biden barely won. I know he got the same number of electoral votes that Trump did when Trump beat Hillary. And I know he won the popular vote, but it all came down to battleground states, and it was only a few tens of thousands of votes overall that swung it that direction. And I would say Trump lost the election more than Biden won the election, because Trump was just so horrible, and the way he was mismanaging things was bad as well too. But no, like you don't keep giving money to a crack addict because you're related to them and they keep saying they're going to change their ways. And for the Democratic Party, I hate to say it, but for them to underperform or perhaps even lose is the only wake-up call I can think of to get them to actually support what progressive people in the country are interested in.
That's fair, but if the election's going to go along the line, like the one thing about the Democrats, and I guess myself, I used to be a Republican like 3 months ago. I did switch sides, but I guess the thing that they're good at is winning. I mean, they don't need if they don't need the right candidate that the American people don't even like, and they can still win, then that's something to consider. You know what I mean? Like, because
we lost 2016, we barely won 2020, and if if Biden hadn't resigned, we were going to lose this one too. Now the Senate and House elections it's been kind of a mixture. We've won, and then in other cases, like what happened 2 years ago when there was supposed to be a red wave, but there wasn't. That wasn't really a win because we still lost the House in the process. But
yeah, but it wasn't a huge.
Yeah, but that was more the Republicans shooting themselves in the foot with the well, I would say it was mostly the Supreme Court. We can all agree with that. But then the Republicans, the state lawmakers, they go out and they come up with these draconian, horrendous anti-abortion laws too. So They kind of shot themselves in the foot there, is what I would say.
Trump is trying to get the Christian national, the Christian nationalist base more than ever. I mean, I don't know if you watched his last presser, but anyway, that's not something we discuss.
Yeah. He's got them in the bag.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm being a little bit too agreeable right now. So, um, but I will say, like, if you don't like the like, you couldn't want RFK though. He's just as bad as Trump.
No,
He really is.
I don't think that at all.
Well, okay. So the one thing I do know about him, when he was pressed about, there was some allegations that came out about sexual assault, whatever,
Yep,
and
and he didn't deny them.
right, exactly. That's like
Yep, and Martin Luther King Jr. was an alcoholic and a philanderer. That doesn't mean
that's
that I don't support what he stood for and what his message was.
yeah, but those two things are a little bit like those are a little bit more acceptable than like a sexual assault, though.
Yep, it's pretty bad. I wish that we had an option other than any of the three most popular candidates.
I mean, the one thing I will say, at least he's honest. I mean,
Yeah.
RFK. I mean, he is honest. I'll give him that. But yeah, I don't think he would have to what it takes.
So Miss Harris is probably going to get the nomination at the DNC, but it's not set in stone right now. The delegates could do something else, but Trump is going to win if Miss Harris becomes the nominee, because
I don't know.
this is going to suck and people are not going to like this, but she's an African American woman, and that's just not going to happen in the States yet.
Okay, so
I think there's zero
okay,
chance.
here's why I'm not with you at all on that. The reason if Biden would have stayed in, he would have lost is because he would have lost the election, not because Trump would have won the election, because people my age and younger just simply were not going to vote for Joe Biden. It was not going to happen because of a lot of the failed policy promises like student debt relief, the situation with Israel, doing nothing about minimum wage, and a few other things. Those people are that young progressive type of person that typically has voter apathy. I think they're going to be excited and invigorated and hopeful about Kamala Harris. Because the other thing with Biden was people of all ages were just looking at the guy and be like, he's absolutely hopeless. And so they just had apathy for not voting for Biden. But I think that those people are going to be energized and inspired to go for Kamala Harris. Now, with the swing voter is not your backwater person that would vote for Marjorie Taylor Greene or Lauren Boebert or whoever else. That is not your typical swing voter. Your typical swing voter is a very reasonable, rational person, but for the most part, they really only care about their bottom line and like buying groceries and things like that. Now, that's where the Republicans always win the battle of PR with that kind of thing for the most part. But I think that they can pull into the Democrats because traditionally Democrats have been a party that supports labor, or like labor unions. I mean, unions in general. And there has been a lot of good work, like I said, in Biden's cabinet with like the FTC and Lena Khan and things like that. And Kamala can sort of ride those coattails, although I don't trust that she'll do anything about Ticketmaster and all these other things when she gets in there. I don't trust it because I don't trust any Democrat to do that. I'm wildly surprised that Joe Biden did do what he did. So anyways, the thing about America not being ready for a woman of color, I'm not with you on that. Her dad's Jamaican. I can't remember where her mom's from. I always forget.
What I'm trying to explain is that Obama, a lot of people are like, oh, look at Obama. Obama was just a 1 in a million, 1 in a billion type personality, right? Like he was an orator that just listening to him, he just oozed charisma. Like it needed to be that level for that to happen. And it did. And then the country like kind of said, you know what, we can deal with this. But Miss Harris is not the same. Like she's she's more polarized than Obama ever was, first of all. Obama was much more centralized than what Harris kind of goes for, and independents are not going to be voting for her. And Trump has done a great job at toning down the way he's become much more of a public, likable personality. His PR team has done a great job of making him seem like a much better, like his granddaughter. He's a family person. He got shot now. Like it's game over. Like you guys have zero chance. It's not happening. Like Democrats should just give up right now. Independents and Republicans together, this is a Trump win. I know you might feel different, but it's already set in stone.
I mean, I have felt that way since January, mostly because of the Gaza situation. And where I sit now with things, I think it's kind of a toss up. What's really crucial that you have to understand is all but about 8 states are decided. California, we know where that's going to go. Yeah. Ohio, we know where that's going to go. Florida, we know that's where it's going to go. The where it gets interesting is Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina's probably gone to the Republicans. But that's where. So you have to analyze it from that perspective. In Michigan, they have an extremely popular female governor, Gretchen Whitmer, and I think Kamala Harris is going to pick Josh Shapiro because that's who AIPAC wants, and that'll be her vice president. Mm-hmm. And I think that'll be kind of the safe bet for her because he's a generic white guy, but he's also extremely, extremely popular in his state. But I'm pretty sure he's from Pennsylvania, so that bodes extremely well.
Too, isn't Vance from the Midwest? I mean, like the Midwest, like that whole Ohio, Pennsylvania, that Rust Belt area.
So I don't think Vance helps Trump really in any way whatsoever. He might actually hurt him because Vance has, from what I understand, some pretty draconian ideas centered around abortion, like what he would support for it. And Donald Trump, although it's his fault that we're in that situation, he always distances himself from that. It's as if Donald Trump is like, look, I just wanted it to go to the states, and I'm not going to say anything beyond that. I'm not going to try to legislate it beyond that, where it's all the Republicans are like, well, no, now that Roe's overturned, we can just impose our will on the whole country. So I don't think Vance does anything for Trump because he's already just wildly popular among the base. And before COVID, we had a really great economy. So the people in that part of the country that have been looked over forever, that are the reason he got voted in the first place.
Without COVID, Trump wins by a landslide. But
oh yeah,
and then
yeah.
What I think a lot of people are people don't express their opinions out loud. So with Miss Harris, I believe she's going to lose a lot of the white woman vote. I think that's what's going to happen.
Really? Why? Yeah. Because suburban women love the idea of bodily autonomy. And I mean, like weirdly, just a huge number of voters are single issue voters, and it's the pro-life and the pro-choice people. Like, you probably don't know this, but like back in 2017, a guy who like admitted to being a pedophile, Roy Moore, ran for senator of Alabama, and he won like 95% of the rural votes because he was a Republican and he was pro-life. Like, no sensible person could vote for that guy. And in Alabama, the Democrat you're going to get in Alabama is going to be so centrist that they're basically to the right. I think he was pro-choice. I don't even remember what the guy's name was because he was voted out the next session. But
first of all, there shouldn't even be this debate about pro-life, pro-choice. There should be it's a gray area that needs to. Every situation should be based on its merits, right? Like, I'm not agreeing with any of that pro-life, pro-choice, like just hard line thing. Because yes,
I know, but that's not the reality of how politics works. Politics is appeal to emotion and take the most extreme case on either side. So, anyways, let's get back. I don't know why white suburban women wouldn't vote for Kamala Harris. White suburban women aren't racist. They're not the Sisters of the South or whatever that crazy group of bitches is called.
It's not about racist. It's about just this. if you remember 2016 when it was Trump versus Biden, Trump versus Clinton, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people thought he had absolute zero chance, and people were not actively saying they're voting for Trump out on the street if they got interviewed or on a Zoom call, like someone was saying they had 160,000 white. They're all gonna say, yeah, we're here and we're all up. But then when they get in that voting booth, it's a different story. It's a different story.
I mean, like, yeah, you're kind of talking about the silent majority, and the or the silent minority, really. That was kind
Yes,
of because all the
exactly.
polling stuff was so inaccurate. But actually, the polls have been underestimating Democrats for the last about 3 years ish. So that's very, yeah, it's very hard to guess. But no, from I looked at some polling data, and in all of those like key swing states, it's basically like about 50-48 Trump Harris, and sometimes one's on top, sometimes the other. It's all within the margin of error. I think it's a toss up at this point. I would not bet on anything. I would have bet the farm on Trump before, but now I wouldn't bet anything now.
It'll be interesting back in November if you're still on TikTok, and we can have a conversation about the data that comes out after the election, and we can kind of see who kind of had the right idea in this conversation here. And we can look at some data about white women voting and how bad Miss Harris will lose, and then we'll look at it in November. But I'll drop down. Thank you for your time. No more. I won't ask to be up again. People don't like that I'm Canadian. I'm from Toronto. Down.
People don't like that I'm Canadian.
But
We
to
have
tell you the
we have so far still to go. In
I
this
know.
country.
I don't know nothing about American politics, but I'm pretty sure I know more than 90% of the people down there about American.
Oh yeah, yeah, you're probably right, because the average voter is so they're uninformed, and like I said, they mostly just care about their bottom line, which is fair because they have to live, right? But anyways.